Wow, that number scares me. Anyways. So I start my journey at a very normal time and then go grab my starter from Professor Elm. I go to Mr. Pokemon's house and he gives me a random egg. Elm then calls and tells me that someone stole one of his Pokemon. Don't worry, Professor. If I find the person that stole it, I'll be sure to... So I make it back to New Bark Town, tell the police about Silver, give Elm that egg I'll never see again, and now the journey really begins. To cut a long story short, Expo burns down all of the early routes and evolves in the process. With that evolution, Expo can easily turn Faulkner's gym into a KFC, giving me my first badge. Elm's assistant gives me the egg from earlier and I make my way onto Route 32. With the old rod I find on the route, I can go back to Violet City and fish for a Poliwag that I then catch. In Azalea Town, both the Team Rocket encounter and gym are simple, so let's skip straight to the battle with Silver. First out is Ghastly, but Expo brings it down with 2 embers. Next is Croconaw and I swap to Polibow. I use Double Slap first and follow up with Hypnosis after seeing how little damage it does. I continue to use Double Slap even after he wakes up and starts using Scratch. In the end, Polibow lives a critical scratch on 1 HP and finally takes down the Croconaw. Lost out to Zubat, but Expo can easily finish the fight from there with Ember. That felt a lot closer than it really was. In the Ilex Forest, I get the TM for Headbutt and teach it to Polibow. With that, I can now go back to Route 33 and headbutt trees until I find an Apom for the team. Once I make it out of the forest, I start taking out the trainers around Goldenrod for some levels until I make it to the National Park. Now, I was prepared to attempt the bug catching contest a few times before I won, but instead my first encounter was a Scyther that was good enough to win the event. I don't even want to know the odds of this happening. Regardless, I get a Sunstone from winning and I'll be using it soon. On my way back to Goldenrod, the egg finally hatches into a Togepi, giving us another team member. I finish up the trainers around Goldenrod before trying Whitney. I lead with Togebo for the experience and friendship boost before swapping to Aibo. Metronome and Double Slap deal a little damage, but Clefairy ends up going down to Scratch without too much trouble. Next is her infamous Miltank, and I use Sand Attack to try and mitigate some of her damage before falling to Stomp. I send out Expo and try to burn with Ember, but never end up getting it. She regains health with Milk Drink, and eventually I accept Expo's fate, dealing some damage with Quick Attack before going down to Stomp. I put her to sleep with Polibow, but she gets a Milk Drink off first. It's at this point I realize I'm in trouble, as Polibow doesn't have the damage to keep up with her healing. She wakes up, heals, and takes down Polibow with 2 stomps. Togebo tries with Metronome, but it does almost nothing and I go down soon after. That Sand Attack didn't do anything, huh? I'll get the weaker members some more levels and try again. Maybe I'll get better luck next time. Alright, I got everyone up to level 20 and I have a plan this time. I lead with Polibow this time, and due to a headbutt flinch and double slap miss, Clefairy goes down without landing a hit. She sends out Miltank and I use Hypnosis to put her to sleep. Next I swap into Togebo and use Charm to lower her attack. Finally I send out Expo as she wakes up and uses Rollout. I use an Ember before Rollout brings me just above half. I swap into Aibo to eat the next Rollout and I hope she misses one, but she doesn't, bringing him down. What is with Whitney's accuracy today? I send in Polibow next and manage to outspeed with Headbutt and get the flinch. I keep using Headbutt until she lands a Rollout. Once she does, I put her to sleep with Hypnosis again. I go back into Expo as she wakes up and uses Rollout. This is fine, however, as it means she's locked into the move and can't stop 2 Embers from bringing her down. Man, Whitney really is a problem if you don't have a fighting type. Hopefully she's as close as these gym battles get. Now that it's daytime, I can go to the National Park and find a Sunkern for the team. I immediately use the Sunstone from earlier to evolve it into Sunflora. Our catching adventure isn't quite over yet, as on Route 36 I encounter our final team member, Sudowoodo. What an all-star team Gold put together. Time for the Silver Battle in the Burn Tower. I swap into Sudowoodo as Hunter uses Curse. I use Dig, which takes it out next turn, however. Next is Croconaw and I go into Sudowoodo. We trade Bite and Mega Drain for a few turns until he eventually goes down. He sends out Zubat and I go back into Sudowoodo. I get confused, but one shot with Rock Throw anyways. Last is Magnemite, but it goes down to 1 dig. I wasn't expecting Sunbow and Sudowoodo to instantly put in work like that, but I'm not complaining. Morty's next and I start with Sunbow. He uses Curse as I use a Growth. From there, 2 Mega Drains take it down. He sends out Hunter and Nightshade plus the Curse damage brings me down. I send out Expo and he uses Ember that brings him under half. He then uses Curse and finishes himself off. Next is Gengar, but he spends all his time missing hypnosis, so Ember eventually takes him down. Last is a second Haunter, and I can't swap because of Mean Look, so I just use another Ember and go down to a Nightshade. From there, Pseudobo can finish the battle with a Dig. Glad none of those hypnosis landed. Dream Eater can be a big problem if he puts multiple people to sleep. A lot of trainers later, and I make it to Cianwood City's gym, and I forgot to pick up strength. Polibo evolved on the way back, so I guess the trip wasn't completely pointless. I guess. Back at the gym, I lead with Expo. A few Embers take down Primeape, but I'm low on health. Next is Poliwrath, and I swap to Sunbow. Unfortunately, Surf, Dynamic Punch, and the confusion from said punch take me down without getting a hit in. I send out Polibo next, and I think I just had a Gen 1 gym leader flashback. Jumping straight into the next gym with Jasmine, her first Magnemite easily goes down to Dig, and next is Steelix. Dig doesn't do much, and neither does Low Kick, while her Iron Tail takes me down in one hit. I send out Expo, and a critical Ember does huge damage. She heals with a Hyper Potion as a second Ember lands. Since my defense was lowered, I swap into Polibo that takes a critical Rock Throw for a little over half. Iron Tail leaves him on 2 HP as 2 Surfs take her down. This is the second time Polibo has done this now. What a hero. The second Magnemite does over half with a Thunderbolt, and Expo does good damage with Ember before going down. From there, Aibo can finish it with a Shadow Ball and the burn damage. Note to self, cut out the part where I tried to get some extra friendship with Togebo. Also, cut out me saying that. Me and Lance deal with the Rockets and Mahogany, and the last of them gives Togebo the friendship he needed to evolve. Price time, and I start with Expo. We do little damage to each other before I decide to swap into Polibo. Then, 2 headbutts from Polibo easily take it down. Dugong is next, as we trade headbutts before I swap into Pseudobo. I get hit by 2 Aurora Beams and then land a Rock Slide that brings it down. Last is Pilosine, and I go back into Polibo. Blizzard does good damage to me, and next turn I hit him with Surf that does half before going down to a second Blizzard. From there, Expo can finish it with a few Embers, even through his Hyper Potion. Only 1 badge left. The rocket battles in this part aren't worth going over, but the battle with Silver is. He starts with Golbat, and Rockslide leaves him on a Sliver before landing a Confuse Ray next turn. I hit myself once, but finish Golbat on the next turn. Next is for Alligator as I swap into Sunbow. He isn't able to do much, however, as a few Mega Drains take it down. Next is Magnemite, and I go back into Pseudobo, but go down before I can get a hit in. I go into Expo, and 2 Embers bring it down, but I get paralyzed in the process. Next is Haunter, and he traps me in with Mean Look before using Curse. Ember brings him low, but I can't move due to the paralysis and go down from 2 Shadow Balls. Luckily, Aibo can come in and get the knockout with their own Shadow Ball. Last is Sneasel, but Iron Tail and Strength easily take it down. That battle was a bit more scuffed than it should have been. Guess not playing for 2 weeks will do that. Once I make it to Blackthorn City, I decide to grind up a bit, as this is where the game's levels start to get weird. A lot of exploding rocks later, and Expo can finally evolve into Typhlosion. I also finally get Polibo to the level I want, so I can trade him with a King's Rock to evolve into Politoed. So, funny story. Turns out the way I recorded Crystal's screen swapped to gold after I closed the game, and I didn't notice until the end of this session. So enjoy double vision for a little bit, and I'll be sure to add this event to my wall of shame so it never happens again. Time for Claire, and she leads with Dragonair. Ice Punch does half, but I get paralyzed by Thunder Wave. She lands a critical slam that brings me to half before a second Ice Punch takes it down. Well, that didn't go as planned. Her second Dragonair is next, and I can't attack due to the paralysis. I swap into Pseudobo, and unfortunately get paralyzed by a Thunderbolt and can't move because of it. Another Thunderbolt brings me low as Rock Slide does half to her. I go into Expo, and Thunder Punch plus Flame Wheel are able to bring it down. Next is her ace Kingdra, and I decide to deal some damage with Thunder Punch before falling to Surf. I swap into Sunbow and start using Mega Drain, but she lands a critical Dragon Breath that also paralyzes me. Great. But just to tell me that it didn't actually matter, she follows up with a critical Hyper Beam that takes me down. Overkill much? Aibo does decent damage with Strength as she recharges from the Hyper Beam, but she uses a Hyper Potion. We trade Strength and Surf for a bit until Aibo eventually goes down. Togebo is the only one left that can really fight, so I bring him out and use Swift. In what I can only assume is the universe having mercy on me, she misses 2 Hyper Beams in a row, which lets Togebo get the knockout. I mean, I'll take it. Last out is her third Dragonair, and I take about half from Ice Beam before getting off a Fly. It doesn't do much, and I get hit by Thunder Wave next turn. The second Fly lands, but another Ice Beam brings me down to 6 HP. Unfortunately, the third Fly is interrupted by the paralysis and Togebo goes down. I send out the injured Polybo and take a slam that leaves me on 5 HP before landing an Ice Punch to finish the fight. You know what? Claire's right. I don't deserve this badge. Anyway, at the end of the most barren victory road of all time is the final Silver battle. He starts with Sneasel, but X-Bow one-shots him with Flame Wheel. Next is for Alligator, and 2 Thunder Punches take it down. Golbat's out next, and Thunder Punch does over half before he lands a Confuse Ray. I end up hitting myself twice before I can take it down. Haunter's next, and I swap into Pseudobo that also gets hit with Confuse Ray. Luckily, I get through and land Earthquake without hitting myself. Magneton and Kadabra also can't take an Earthquake, so the final rival battle ended up being one of the easiest ones. Funny. It's at this point I write my terrible mistake on the Wall of Shame and then grind up a few more levels for the Elite Four. Level 40 is usually good enough for this game's Elite Four, and this team has surprised me enough to make me think I can do it. Let's see how it goes. Will's first, and he starts with Xatu. X-Bow uses Thunder Punch that brings it into the red while he hits me with a Psychic that does slightly less than half and lowers my special defense. The second Thunder Punch takes him out, and next is Slowbro. I swap into Sunbow and get hit by a Psychic that does half, but Mega Drain keeps me healthy so Slowbro goes down without too much issue. He brings out Jinx and I go back into X-Bow. Flame Wheel does over half as Psychic brings me down to 3 HP and a second Flame Wheel finishes it. He sends out another Xatu and I swap into Pseudobo. Psychic hits hard, but Rock Slide takes it down from full health. Last is Exeggutor, and I go into Togebo, but 2 Psychics take him down before I can get a hit in. X-Bow comes in and does big damage with Flame Wheel before falling to another Psychic. From there, Aibo can easily finish the battle with a Strength. That was a little messy at the end, but went fine overall. Koga tells me Pokemon isn't just about brute strength, and I laugh at him as I use brute strength to beat him without losing a single Pokemon. Maybe you should have stayed a gym leader, buddy. Bruno is next, and he leads with Hitmontop. I tried twice to use Fly with Togebo, but he just uses Detect on my way down, so I decided to swap into X-Bow after using Charm. Flame Wheel does about a fourth as he uses Dig, forcing me back into Togebo. At this point, I decide to start using Swift to chip away at him since he's only using a weakened Quick Attack, and eventually he goes down. Next is Onix, but Polybo can easily come out in one-shot with Surf. Hitmonchan's next, but a few Surfs manage to bring it down while he hits me with some Mach Punches. Next is Hitmonlee, and I swap into X-Bow, who takes a high jump kick on the switch. Flame Wheel somehow crits and burns him, but he confuses me with Swagger to make up for it. Luckily, I managed to hit a second Flame Wheel to bring him down. Last is Machamp, and I try to get another burn with Flame Wheel, but don't get it and go down to a Rock Slide. Sunbow then goes down to a critical Cross Chop, and it's at this point I realize I'm in trouble. Cross Chop hits extremely hard, and most of my remaining Pokemon are either injured or weak to fighting. I send out my remaining team members to deal whatever damage I can, but seeing him live on a sliver and heal told me it was over. Unless... Missing a Cross Chop and healing let Aibo get 2 strengths in before going down, and my last Pokemon is Pseudobo. Earthquake brings him low, but he's out of PP on Cross Chop, so he uses Vital Throw that doesn't take me out. Because of that, I can finish it next turn with a second Earthquake. I almost lost to Bruno. I suddenly don't feel so confident in this team's chances. The last member of the Elite Four is Karen, and she starts with an Umbreon. Pseudobo doesn't do much damage with Low Kick as she lowers my accuracy with Sand Attack. She lands a second Sand Attack and I try Earthquake, but the damage is about the same. Luckily, Umbreon doesn't hit that hard, so a few more Low Kicks can bring it down. Next is Vileplume when I swap into X-Bow. She locks herself into Petal Dance that doesn't hurt much, so a few Flame Wheels can easily bring it down. Next is Gengar, and I use Flame Wheel that does about a fourth as she uses Curse, lowering her own health. From there, a second Flame Wheel can take it down. Now she sends out Murkrow and oh, it's dead. Last is Houndoom, and Thunder Punch doesn't do much as Crunch plus Curse bring me luck. For a moment, I forget that Dark is special in this gen and send out Pseudobo, who cannot live a Crunch. Oops. It's not all bad, however, as that gives Polybo a free switch and a critical Surf ends the battle. Alright, only one battle left. Lance leads with Gyarados, and X-Bow's Thunder Punch leaves it on a sliver, but he just uses Rain Dance, so I can pick up the KO next turn. Next is Aerodactyl, and I try to use Thunder Punch, but flinch from the Rock Slide and have to switch into Pseudobo. I take a lot of damage because of a critical rock slide, but mine also brings him into the red. I decide to let Pseudobo go down for the free switch, and he takes me down with a Hyper Beam. That was overkill, but it works in my favor as he has to recharge and goes down to a Thunder Punch from Expo. He sends out his first Dragonite, and Thunder Punch doesn't do much as he uses another Hyper Beam to take me down. Polibo comes in and does a lot with Ice Punch while he recharges, but he's still alive unfortunately. Knowing this is the one with Thunder, I swap into Aibo, who lives it and finishes Dragonite on the next turn. Now for Dragonite number 2. Strength doesn't do much as Hyper Beam brings down another one of my Pokemon. Polibo once again lands an Ice Punch while he recharges, and once again it barely doesn't kill. But for some good luck, I dodge a Hyper Beam and finish it. The final Dragonite is out now, but 2 Ice Punches take it down. He did deal some big damage with Hyper Beam though. His last Pokemon is Charizard and... oh. Well, that's anticlimactic. These battles had some super close knockouts. I think just a few more levels would really clean up some of these fights. I get everyone up to level 43 and try again. This time Expo's Thunder Punch can take out Gyarados from full, which makes me feel better about this. I decide to stay in against Aerodactyl and manage to outspeed and land a Thunder Punch before taking a Rock Slide for half and finishing it next turn. The first Dragonite is next, and I deal some damage with Swift before falling to a critical Hyper Beam. Polibo comes out and Ice Punch still barely misses the knockout, but I get the freeze, so I just take it down next turn for free. The second Dragonite fails Thunder Wave, and I land another Ice Punch and somehow get another freeze. I don't know what's happening, but I'm not going to question it and just take the KO. The last Dragonite uses Safeguard, and honestly I can't blame him after that. Ice Punch does a little more than half, and he uses a full restore as a second Ice Punch brings him back into the same range. Hyper Beam hits hard, but a third Ice Punch takes him down. Last is Charizard, and he misses a Hyper Beam and goes into the red from a Surf. He lands a Hyper Beam next turn, but Polibo lives it on 2 HP and finishes him with another Surf. What a strange champion battle. I don't think I needed all those freezes to win, but I'll gladly take it. I don't know what Polibo is made of, but he's lived so many attacks on single-digit health this run. What a legend. But the run's not over yet. There's still Kanto to go through, and anyone who's played it can tell you the first 7 gym leaders aren't much to talk about, so let's skip straight to the battle with Blue. Blue starts with Pidgeot, and I use Rock Slide with Pseudobo. It leaves him with about a 4th, and then he uses Whirlwind to force me into Togebo. His wing attack doesn't do much, and a Psychic takes him down. Next is Rhydon, and I swap into Sunbow, but get taken out by a critical Rock Slide. However, that gives Polibo a free switch, and he takes out Rhydon in 1 Surf. Exeggutor is next, and I swap into Expo while he charges a Solar Beam. Flame Wheel brings him low, and Solar Beam does about half to me. Now he starts using full restores, but he can't out-heal the Flame Wheel damage, so he eventually goes down. Gyarados is next, and Thunder Punch does good damage, but I go down to a Hydro Pump. I send out Aibo, but Strength leaves him on just a sliver, which lets him take me down with a Hyper Beam. Togebo takes him down while he's recharging, but Alakazam is out next. He sets up Reflect while I miss a Fly. Not good. Next turn we trade Psychics with each other, but his does far more than mine and I go down next turn. I send out Polibo and take it Psychic for half and land a Surf that leaves him in the red. He disables Surf, but as the Reflect wore off, I used Body Slam and that brings him down. His last Pokemon is Arcanine, and Extreme Speed brings me low as Waterfall leaves him with only a 4th. A second Extreme Speed takes me down next turn, but from there Pseudobo can come in and get the victory. Man, it would have been embarrassing to lose to Blue's Alakazam again. All that's left is the final battle with Red, and I try it at level 50 but get absolutely destroyed. I can't even get past his Espeon. I clearly need more levels to do this, and anyone that's done this grind can tell you how terrible it is. There's not any good places to get experience, and you need so many levels to even have a chance against Red that it just takes forever. So I put up a poll asking how I should go about doing this, and a majority said using candies is fine. So I'll be back once I find a level that works, I guess. I'm back surprisingly early at level 60, and Red starts with Pikachu. His charm fails and Pseudobo uses Earthquake for a one-shot. Next is Espeon, and he sets up Reflect as I land an Earthquake for a little bit of damage. After thinking for a while, I swap into Togebo but don't manage to get an attack off before going down. I get a free switch into Polibo and take a Psychic for half before landing a Body Slam that gets the paralysis. Surf brings him into the red and another Psychic takes me down. Aibo comes in and can pick up the KO with Shadow Ball, and now he sends out Snorlax. Knowing Aibo can't hurt him much, I use Tail Whip a few times to set up for when I switch. Getting paralyzed by Body Slam means I can't get another attack off, but now Pseudobo can come in and start using Low Kick. The first one makes him flinch and the second one misses as he lands a Body Slam for little damage. Another Low Kick brings him into the red and another Body Slam takes me to half, but a final Low Kick ends it next turn. Venusaur's next and I swap into Expo. Flamethrower brings him low as he hits me with a critical solar beam that does the same to me. A second Flamethrower finishes him next turn and now he sends out Blastoise. I land a Thunder Punch for a third before going down to a Surf. I send out Sunbow and he misses a Blizzard, letting me get a free Giga Drain that leaves him on a sliver of health. He lands the second Blizzard that brings me down to 18 HP and a second Giga Drain takes him down. Last out is Charizard and I let Sunbow go down so I can get a free swap into Pseudobo. He misses a Fire Spin and that lets Rock Slide connect and bring him down from full, ending the battle. What a strange run that was. Expo and Polibo being the main stars wasn't surprising, but Pseudobo and Aibo did a lot better than I expected. They really helped in a lot of situations, and Pseudobo in particular took down 3 of Red's Pokémon. Meanwhile, Togebo and Sunbow extremely underperformed. Togebo eventually got better in the post-game with Psychic, but Sunbow just ended up being a way for me to switch for free in most battles. Regardless, that was a lot of fun. Red's team was mostly Gen 1 highlights that I'd use on a normal playthrough, but Gold's team was full of Pokemon I wouldn't usually go out of my way to use. This video ended up taking longer to record than I planned. Hi, me from the future here. I've had the rest of this audio recorded for over a month now. I'm really sorry this video wasn't supposed to take this long to edit. It's mostly because I fell into the Pokemon Unite vortex halfway through, but that's not what you want to hear. You want to know what's next. And yes, Ruby with Ruby's team is on my list, but I think I'm going to make something a bit different next. I'm still figuring out the details, so I'll keep quiet about it for now, but I'm really excited to work on it. I still have work to do on this video though, so I'll get back to it. I'll see you all next time.